former Chief Minister of Himachal, very eminent minister of this government who's sitting here, he would accept what I say. Almost 65% of the horticulture produce of Himachal rots either on the trees or on the ground. Number of times, number of governments have spoken of warehousing facilities, cold storage. This is all India's wealth that goes waste. Now, I could keep on emphasizing the importance of agriculture, but this is not a discussion on the Ministry of Agriculture, and I can only indicate in points the Honourable, what I think is vital in agriculture. The Honourable Finance Minister gave us figures saying that the total agriculture credit for 12-13 will be increased to 5,75,000 crores.
1 lakh.
I submit, sir, that all these figures that we have, and I have done the same thing, not that I was any better. We have done the same thing. It's not the quantum increase that matters. What matters is the application of that money in terms of real return. So I point out to you, sir, that there are roughly, please correct me if my figure is wrong, if you are talking of credit, there are roughly 12 crore farmers in the country who are loan seekers. And of that, only 5.5 crore farmers have actually got loans. Not even 50% of the farmers have loans. I have pointed out that what we need, sir, yes, the revolution of the 60s brought us high-yield varieties and rice. And indeed, it expanded the use of irrigation. But in expanded use of irrigation, we went into profligate water usage, like flood irrigation. अगर मैं कहूँ, ये सब मैंने अपने हाथों से किया हुआ है. आज भी गायें पालता हूँ. थरपार कर गायों का 50 गायों का मेरा टोला आज भी मेरे गांव में है. मैं घोड़े भी रखता हूँ, शौक से भी रखता हूँ, क्योंकि घोड़ों का प्रेमी भी हूँ. मैंने अपने हाथों से, डिप्टी स्पीकर साहब, हल खड़ा किया बैल के पीछे. मैंने अपने हाथों से हल जोता है, खेत खड़ा है, कुएं की अरत पर बैठ करके पानी सींचा. एक किसी साहब ने, oh, some note has come to me. I don't know why it has come. Sushmaji, शायद आपके लिए हो. So I was, the requirement in agriculture is about soil erosion, soil salination, most economical usage of water, where flood irrigation is not the answer. The average high-yield variety in India today, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, is generally 30 to 50% lower than the average high-yield variety of rice, for example, in China, and about half of that in Vietnam or Indonesia. We continue to be short, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, today of the Finance Minister knows we are net importers of lentil. It's the largest provider of protein. We are also net importers of vegetable oil. This is the only country, Mr. Deputy Speaker, which culturally and civilizationally will not, cannot use animal fat. And that being a reality, that today, 63 years after independence, we still continue to have to import vegetable oil. We are not self-sufficient. If for us, the principal protein requirement comes from lentils, and we still have to import lentils, I don't have to point out why agriculture is so important. Sir, I will share some very disturbing, troubling figures to me about poverty. These are World Bank statistics. I know the World Bank. I'm familiar with its means. I also know their statistics. 75.6% of our population, this is as of 2005, 75.6% of the population lives on less than $2 per day on the purchasing power parity criteria. 41.6% of the population is living below the new international line of poverty, which is also on PPP, of $1.25. The data that has been released by the Government of India on poverty figures resulted in a discussion and a debate. The issue, sir, is not what the figures of poverty are. The central issue remains that there is poverty which is appalling, which is unacceptable, and a poverty that is degrading and dehumanizing. It is for many, many reasons, amongst which, so far as the farmer is concerned, a study has also established that a farmer receives only about 1/5 or 20% of what ultimately is sold, the grain is sold in the shop. The farmer is recipient only of 20% of that. So these figures ought to tell us effectively enough. Otherwise, of course, I could persist and I could speak for long on agriculture, but that is not today's purpose. I go, sir, I have about 10 minutes. I'll try and finish on that. So I have some parochial points. By parochial, I say parochial because they are issues of personal interest to me. One is the army, the second is the desert, and the third are the mountains which have so kindly sent me here. What, sir, is they well asked, and I will attempt to answer, what is my view as to what India ought to be? We must be a modern, a self-reliant, and a self-confident national economy that competes with the best globally. We must have a happy and a contented citizenry, eliminate poverty causes, and infuse the citizenry with animal spirit. For this, rural development is vital. I appeal to you, Finance Minister, sir. I agree that you have political differences with us, but some of the programs that were introduced by the NDA government for rural development were eminently sensible. One of them was provision of urban resources and facilities for the rural area, Pura. Please re-examine that program. It's a very good program. It subserves the purpose of rural areas very well. Don't reject it only because we had introduced it. The second thought I leave with you, I cannot keep speaking for all the time. You must, sir, address to the challenge of reversing the investment flow out of the country back into the country. If you examine the figures for the last year, I have rough figures which I don't want to cite. If you examine the you will find that more money has gone out of India by Indian investors investing abroad than has come into India as investment in India. I think this tendency is telling us something. Why are Indian investors going out rather than investing in India? This is a challenge to the management of our economy by the finance ministry. Of course, there are many causes to it. Of course, land acquisition. Of course, the absolute obstinacy of our system and early grant of sanctions and permissions. And money is like water. It finds the area of least resistance and it flows to that. I'm not suggesting that you block that route. Not at all. It reflects and demonstrates the entrepreneurial spirit of India, but try and divert that spirit back into the country, not outside of the country. I cite this because perhaps you intended through your budgetary document. I did not find it, therefore I underline it. Sir, I do again repeat, GDP figures are very important, but the conversion of GDP figures into figures of national contentment is the vital quest. GDP figures by themselves cannot feed India, cannot give contentment to India. This is a challenge that all of us have to address. I have a request here. The Ganga and the Jamuna are the lifelines of India. They are the arteries of our civilizational progress. Certainly from late Rajiv Gandhi as Prime Minister's days, I've been hearing of the need for reviving, cleaning up Ganga, cleaning up Yamuna. This languishes. I request you, Mr. Finance Minister, if necessary, do what you will, constitute what authority of power or committee or whatever, comprising of this Parliament, members of Parliament or whoever, but please address to the health of these two rivers with which the core of India, the civilization of India, what we say, Ganga, Jamuni, etc., is all identified. So on deficits, the control of fiscal deficit and subsidies, I don't want to elaborate the point, except to submit to you that not fully digested and examined concepts of welfareism, which we import from West Europe or wherever, might not be the most suitable methods. Like Manrega was introduced, I have seen. And I'm sure Honorable Naman Gibrina has seen with his own eyes. Overnight, sarpanch in villages have become enormously rich. कहाँ से पैसा आया? ये मनरेगा का पैसा। इमारतें खड़ी हो गई। मैं अभी किसको कह रहा था अगले